I am very excited to be here today, and of course to be able to speak to this awesome guest here, Sarah Madey, who is the Senior Global Brand Strategy Director at Hasbro and Hasbro Games. So, really big title for a really big role for sure. So, very excited to break it down here. What are we going to talk about? We're going to tell you about how Hasbro is connecting with evolving consumers. We're going to deep dive into that. So I know brands are very challenged with this, with the evolving nature of consumer behavior. So we're doing a deep dive into all the really amazing work that Hasbro is doing, specifically a few examples that we're going to dive into after getting to know Sarah a little bit more, and me not so much, but I am the VP of Brand Partnerships for the East Coast at MediaLab. And we own and operate some beloved brands that somebody may or may not know, like Genius, home for music knowledge and lyrics, Imager, which is an image hosting platform and pulse of internet virality, as well as WorldStar Hip Hop and a few others. So you've probably come across us and reached a pretty large audience. So it's really just a pleasure and honor to be at the Brand Innovators events as always. Thank you, Brand Innovators. Thank you, Boston Beer, for the lovely venue. Some of the things we talked about is how Hasbro is leveraging new technologies to adapt to the landscape and bring refreshed experiences to consumers, and also the brand building and repositioning that Sarah and her team are doing with some really iconic brands. It's going to be exciting to talk about. Hasbro is a 100-plus-year-old company, right? That anniversary happened very recently. Billions of dollars in revenue every year, over 5,000 employees globally. So just, a massive company specializing in toys, board games, puzzles, electronic games, and more. I think we all kind of are familiar with Hasbro. We don't realize how deep they maybe go in our nostalgia and our histories. So if I can get a little breaking of ice going here, just a little engagement from the crowd, please raise your hand as I go through this list if one of these products or brands has some history with you, your childhood, your upbringing, maybe you're still a fan, and hobbyist of some of these things today. I know I am. G.I. Joe, Magic the Gathering, Littlest Pet Shop, My Little Pony, Monopoly, Clue, Nerf, Play-Doh, Transformers. Everybody's supposed to keep their hands up so we can see just how impactful this icebreaker is. Tonka trucks, Dungeons and Dragons. All right, if your hand's not up at this point, we got to talk to you in a little bit and see what you were doing in your childhood. But really just what an impact this brand has in all of our lives and continues to do today. So, Sarah, I'm really stoked that you're going to tell us more about that. But as it gets warm next to the fireside here, want to know a little bit more about your personal and career background. You're pretty New England through and through, right? Yeah. So shout out to that. Wicked smart. And former D1 athlete, UVM, Babson. So very curious as to know, as you figured out what you wanted to do in your life, how you got into marketing, just from the start.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Vermont, very small town in the Northeast Kingdom, so very far away, about 500 people. And I navigated from there to UVM, where I played basketball, studied business. I'm one of those rare breeds where I knew I wanted to go into business and marketing from a very young age. I loved scrutinizing ads when I was younger, and I continue to scrutinize ads today. So from UVM, I moved to Boston, and I got my MBA. I started at a consulting firm. I worked with my boss at the time to launch a brand and marketing category within a consulting firm that really focused on helping colleges and universities build out brand positioning and create distinctions between all the great universities that are often huddled together in these small urban centers. From there, I went agency side and worked at Digitas. I worked on the Bank of America account there for many years, had a wonderful time, and then I wanted to move to client side, and I landed at Hasbro, and I've had a really fun time since being there. I worked on a number of the brands that Zach walked through, from Littlest Pet Shop, My Little Pony, Transformers, Nerf I was on for a number of years. I started in a digital team there, and we ultimately decentralized that. I went to Nerf as the global marketing lead for Nerf, and about a year and a half ago, I came over to Hasbro Gaming, which is where I am now.
Amazing. a lot of awesome diversity of experience. And so, any more context you could provide on just your experience with brand building, and then going to work on the agency side for a massive brand like Bank of America, and how that helped prepare you for really all the work that you do at Hasbro. You know, getting insights into all those different parts of the, you know, how the sausage is made.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you are working for a brand as big and diverse and dynamic as Bank of America, you're being introduced to a lot of things. They're moving very quickly. You have to be agile. I worked specifically on the enterprise side, so that's anything that related to the CRM or CSR, so corporate social responsibility, and doing good and giving back into the world. And it really helped me understand how a brand like Bank of America, which is positioned in our minds probably all very differently based on your individual experiences, can really focus on, so my job specifically, again, was focused on the CSR side and how that helped reposition what that brand meant to people through all these small, different consumer interactions. And I loved that I could be at an agency and working on a brand and working to change a brand position for a brand as big as Bank of America. And that's really ultimately what drove me to Hasbro, is I wanted to have more of that experience. And I wanted to have more of that experience across multiple channels and across multiple brands. And so being at Hasbro and leading marketing and franchise development for a brand like Hasbro Gaming, I really get to have that experience of how do we want to shift a brand like Monopoly? What does it mean to consumers, and how do we build that and connect to consumers in completely new ways? And what do we want the Clue brand to mean? And that's some of what we're going to talk through today, is how do you take these legacy brands that have been around for 40, 50, 70, 100 plus years and change what they mean to consumers or make them mean more to consumers? So it's been a really fun ride, and everything really has been cumulative from a career standpoint, from the consulting to agency side to client side. It's all been a build.
It's a really, really cool, cohesive journey. I'm sure, you know, a lot longer to go and more success to be had. Excited to see it happen. Before we jump into, you know, how, you know, the deep dive into how you're connecting with evolving consumers, curious, how has your life changed since being announced as Brand Innovators 40 Under 40 member? Very, very curious about that.
It's a big honor.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Definitely. Shout out to Sarah for that, and to Brand Innovators. So, you know, really shine on people that deserve it, without a doubt. But, you know, let's talk about, you know, the work that gets you these, you know, accolades and whatnot. You know, again, our focus is on connecting with the evolving consumer. And I don't think that just means, you know, the Gen Z user. And we've heard about brand influencers before from Ocean Spray. So, you know, feels like all consumers are evolving. But really, like, focusing on your current roles, you oversee a pretty large remit with consumer marketing, brands, development as well. Those are basically kind of three different categories. Can you unpack that large remit for us a little bit more? Just, you know, what do each of those things that you're focusing on kind of mean to you, and the swim lanes, and how you know, even just manage all your time to you know, move these projects across the line?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, Hasbro Gaming, it probably means something a little bit different to all of you. That is our board game team at Hasbro. Now, Hasbro is structured so that all of our gaming properties live together. That includes Wizards of the Coast, Magic of the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, all of our video games and digital games, and analog games, which is our board game team. So I oversee the marketing and franchise development for our board game team. And that includes brands that you probably all grew up with, like Monopoly, Clue, Scrabble, Trivial Pursuit. But it also includes a whole bunch of other brands in a very broad board game category. And since joining the team, have learned a lot about board game and board game culture. And it is deep and dynamic and fun. And it includes brands like Avalon Hill, which is strategy gaming, or a number of party games and card games, role-playing games. So there's a whole host of brands outside of the ones that are more familiar that really fall under the Hasbro game family. So I oversee the portfolio. And when we talk about the things that our team does, I know language and terminology varies from company to company, but we're really focused on three things, like Zach said. It's consumer marketing, and this is really about creating demand for the products that we have. We make a lot of really great, fun products. We need people to be aware of those products. We need to make sure that they want to buy these products and bring them home and play them with their friends and family. We're also very concerned with brand marketing, because you can have products, but products are not brands unless they mean something to somebody. And so we are focused on taking these great products that are attached to brands and making those brands feel meaningful to people. And that's, again, we're going to walk through a couple of examples of how we've done that. And then the franchise development piece. This is all about making our brands famous. And we do that by activating around what Hasbro calls our brand blueprint. And this is really a strategic framework for making our brands more meaningful to people by engaging them through a multitude of media formats and experiences, and includes everything from licensed consumer products. So if you buy a hat with a logo on it, Monopoly logo, or a sleeping bag, or whatever, your kids buy My Little Pony pajamas, that's licensed consumer products, and that's a touch point for a brand to engage people outside of that core product that we all know and love. It includes things like location-based experiences. So if we open up a Clue escape room, that's another way for people to start to engage with the Clue brand that is separate from the board game that they grew up playing. Entertainment, we make movies, unscripted TV, shows with Netflix, partnerships, promotions, digital games. All of those things fall under franchise or blueprint development and are encompassed in terms of what our team is thinking about as we have a core brand and making it something that's so much more to people than the products we make and sell in a retail store.
It's so cool, and so much more than just the media, marketing, creative campaign work that you're overseeing and involved in. And I think we're all getting a lot of enjoyment out of these kind of products, but also the derivatives. Nobody could go anywhere last year without seeing the Barbie movie, or I did enjoy Super Mario recently on Netflix, which had a little bit more adult humor than I was expecting. How much are you looking at sort of the competitive space in that, and seeing some of those other brands making a splash, and is that impacting how you guys are looking at the future at all?
I think for us, for the most part, we're really focused on what do consumers care about. Yes, we're tuned into what our competitors are doing and always want to have a pulse on the market in general. But for the most part, I feel like the way that we make our brands relevant is by focusing on what's trending with consumers and what consumers are telling us they care about. And so we actually, we knew the Barbie movie was coming. We partnered with Mattel to launch Barbie Monopoly. So that's one example of how we're taking something that's trending. And yes, Mattel is a competitor of Hasbro, but who doesn't want a Barbie Monopoly? And there's never been a time that's more relevant to launch with than last year. And so I think it's thinking about what makes the most sense for our fans and what are things that we can do to make those brands meaningful and for people to find out about all the meaningful things we're doing. And that's a challenge. It's like you can have a full blueprint activation, but if your fans don't know about it, if you only know that Monopoly has a core board game, then we're not doing our job well enough, right? We have a lot of work to be done to make sure that you know about our full range of products and about our full range of experiences, and they're really connecting with you, with the brand, in a way that feels meaningful. And Monopoly, we'll walk through that a little bit later. We just underwent a big brand campaign to really understand what is it people like about Monopoly so that we can make sure everyone is aware of all the cool stuff we're doing and connect with them in a meaningful way.
Cool, yeah, I appreciate the context. Went a little off script there on that one. We're planning to go into that so much, but definitely get us back on track. We're going to get some visuals on the screen here. We're talking about 3 different projects we're going to try to get through. One for Trivial Pursuit, one for Clue, and one for Monopoly. So obviously very much this board game category where we tapped into AI and new tech for Trivial Pursuit. Brand building, building a brand off of the product of Clue with some CGI technology and revamping the characters and sort of what funny thing you said in our first conversation, kind of making them hot. Which the visual definitely proves that point. And then the Monopoly repositioning, which was obviously a big initiative, the global campaign, and you worked with the Martin Agency on new creative. So we won't belabor too much visuals here, but I think definitely support some of this. Like Sydney might be helping us get some of those slides on the screen. There she is.
Yeah, cool.
Shout out to Sydney. Shout out to Sydney. Thank you so much. So yeah, Trivial Pursuit. Tell us, what you guys did here with Trivial Pursuit to, refresh and engage that evolving consumer.
Yeah, I'd love to. So first off, we're going to walk through 3 case studies, and it's really tied to the topic of the conversation today, which is how all of these brands that I'm going to share with you are legacy brands. They're very old, and they probably consume a certain place in your mind or a certain memory. And our job now is to build on that and make it modern and relevant. And so everything we're showing today is about how we're doing that with some of these legacy brands. So Trivial Pursuit, we have some cool visuals because we're all marketers and everyone likes to see videos and visuals. So I got a few in the background. But with Trivial Pursuit, this is a 40-plus-year-old brand, and it's beloved by a lot of people. I love Trivial Pursuit. Am I good at Trivial Pursuit? Not so much. But part of what people like so much about it is that it makes you feel really smart, or at least it makes some people feel really smart. I'm not necessarily falling into that category, and so Trivial Pursuit AI and what we decided to do here is perfect for me, because the other half of people, or maybe more than half of people who play Trivial Pursuit, don't feel so smart, and that's not a great feeling, and it creates a brand that is a little bit exclusionary, and that's kind of part of the Trivial Pursuit brand, is that people who are really good at it really, really love it, and everyone else just lets it sit on the shelf and collect dust. And so we saw the opportunity to use AI, which is obviously trendy, to do something really cool to build on an existing brand and enhance the way that people can play it and make it far more inclusive than what it currently is as the original board game that a lot of us knew and played growing up. So with the AI here, what we did is we launched a new site, trivialpursuit.com. It's in its alpha stage, so very early. We have a lot of new features that are coming out. You can certainly go to it and check it out. But what it does is that you can play Trivial Pursuit and be served up 6 questions on absolutely any topic you can think of. As random or niche as you can think, you can put your own name in there, you can put your hometown, you can put varieties of ice cream or maple syrup, whatever it is, like the craziest of topics. And the AI will generate a series of 6 questions, and you can really start to test your knowledge in a game format that's very similar to the mechanics of the base game. So this is just a great example of how we're using tech. We're leaning into something that's a little bit trendy in AI, but we're using it to make a 40-year-old brand something that has a little bit of new life and is more relevant to a much broader audience than what the game itself could do.
That's really cool. So yeah, Trivial Pursuit's gone pretty digital here, and maybe not just for the smarty pantses anymore. Although I've only known you for a week, I think you're very smart. So keep working on the Trivial Pursuit side of things and
keep practicing.
Yeah, and any Wordle fans out there, it sounds like this could be cool. Just like kind of tapping into that.
Same idea.
Always on
daily challenge.
Daily challenge. Really,
just
a couple of clicks and you're off enjoying yourself and learning new things. So I think we could, kind of move into the next case study. We want to talk a little bit about Clue. Yeah, Clue, Colonel Mustard in the greenhouse with the pipe or whatever.
Yep.
What's your favorite kind of combination of the murder?
Yeah, where, with what?
There we go. Clue's a really cool brand. So tell us how,
cool.
You're building that brand off of this iconic product.
Yep, so very similar to the themes that we've been talking about. Clue's a board game, 75 years actually this year that it's been around. A lot of us probably played and grew up with it, but my guess is that if I asked most of you what Clue means to you, you would say exactly what I just said. A board game I played and grew up with, or a game that I play with my kids now. And what we saw as an opportunity with Clue to align it to true crime genre. True crime has become a genre in and of itself. There are podcasts, there are movies, there's all sorts of content out there because everybody wants to be a detective, right? And the internet really allows you to be that. And so we felt like, hey, let's take this board game, which is playing in the space that has incredibly high global awareness and affinity, and make it a whole lot more. So build on that base game. And so there's a saying in entertainment, you go from show to shelf. And this is the idea that you have an entertainment IP, and from that, you build out products that align to that IP. Well, with Clue, we did just the opposite, which was shelf to show. And so we took this board game that has incredible storytelling potential that we really hadn't dug into all that much, and built out an entertainment platform for it. So right here, what you're seeing on the screen is the original Clue game. Probably some of you still have this in your basement. This is one of the more recent versions. But you can tell it looks a little bit stale. It's not very diverse. It's not modern by any means. And so to go from that shelf to show mentality, we started with what we felt like had the biggest storytelling potential, and that's our characters. And so we redesigned them. I know it's a little bright here, but you can see it is a much more diverse cast. They're far more modern. They're all very beautiful. And we started with that. And we said, okay, let's spend a lot of time not only designing these. I mean, I know you're seeing a snapshot here, but there's a whole backstory for every single one of these characters that was blown out, and a lot of work put into every single aspect of their design and their being, and how they can be integrated into not only the Clue game, but future iterations of the game. And so this becomes a platform for us to create new product and new entertainment and expand and blow out how we're thinking about that blueprint development. So we launched with this earlier last year, and Cindy, you can move us up ahead one slide. And as we alluded to earlier, people were not only loving our characters, but they were in love with our characters. And I can't say that I anticipated this, but I was very pleased with the results of people loving Daddy Mustard and Professor Young. But I can't blame them, quite honestly. So we kind of rode this wave and continued to build from there. And kind of serendipitously, we had this really big social campaign. It was the first ever Clue murder mystery game that you could play on Instagram. It was a great way for us to say, like, look, we've launched these new characters, and now you can get to know them in a much deeper way on Instagram. It became another touch point for our fans, and it unlocked a whole lot more from there, which I'll get into in a second, but there is a video. Let's see if it plays. I know sound was an issue earlier, but we're going to see. We're going to try one more time. You can skip through it if not. No sound.
In Black Hotel.
Here, here, here.
I want to thank you. Peacock, plum, mustard, green, scarlet, white. Your hard work is going to make me very rich. You, on the other hand, not so much.
This isn't outrage.
After all we've done for
You don't have a deal.
You won't get away with this.
what are you gonna do? Kill me?
What's your emergency?
There's been a murder. It's Body Black. She's evil. I knew it the second she walked through the door.
The chef and the gossip were working together.
Heard quite a ruckus from the conservatory. Maybe 5.
Who do you believe? The guy with the book or the guy with the gun?
We're wasting time here. There's a killer in this mansion.
Oh, everybody had secrets. Question is, who would kill the keeper?
It's a whole new way.
Oh, they switched the screen audio for
I'll just talk louder
voice
for
audio.
a second.
You can project.
Sure.
You can project well.
Yeah, so this is obviously a new fun way for you to think about Clue and engage with the brand. And what this really did for us is unlock countless opportunities for us to really activate that whole blueprint that I was talking about. So this is a fun starting point. There we go. And if you go ahead, you can just quickly fly through the next 3 slides. You can see that it's starting to unlock our partnerships with people who wanted to be a part of the Clue story. And from there, that unlocks the Clue touring show, which is coming to Boston in a few weeks. It unlocks Clue Breakout Room, which is a Clue escape room. And it's just a chain reaction, but it all started by identifying what's the way for us to connect this brand to people in a meaningful way. And it really started with the characters. And so it's a slow build, but a meaningful build.
That's awesome. I know we're kind of running tight on time, so I want you to be able to talk about the Monopoly partnerships or the repositioning of this brand, embracing your inner villain. This one's really cool, so I want to give the audience a chance to learn more about this.
Okay, great. So I will try and go relatively quickly through this. You can go to the next slide, Sydney. So Monopoly is a global brand, 99% global awareness. We recently just did a study and found out that 90% of households in certain markets own a product. So this is like a marketer's dream. Everybody knows about Monopoly. And in fact, its currency is the only global currency in the world and most printed currency in the world. So this is a fun fact that you can take back. Maybe that'll show
Better
you
than
Trivial
Bitcoin.
Pursuit, and you can get that question right. So anyway, we have this brand and it has unbelievable awareness. And we didn't feel like people really knew about all the things that we were doing with our brand. It wasn't rated high from a relevancy and cool factor affinity standpoint. And it kind of makes sense because our biggest strength as a brand, which is our awareness and the nostalgia that you have, everyone has a memory of playing Monopoly growing up, is also our biggest weakness because you see us as a brand that has a nice little place in your heart, a nice cozy memory, but it's not the brand that you're thinking of when you think of cool, modern, relevant brands. And so we set out on a journey to fix that. So if we go ahead one slide, I think this is a video just showing the range of the brand that currently exists. The sound is off. That's okay. We can keep playing through it. But what you're going to see here as it plays in the background is, as I was talking earlier about building a brand, activating around that brand blueprint, Monopoly is a brand that has done that. And our problem, as I just mentioned, is that people just don't know about it. And so what we set out to do was first understand, okay, what is it that people love about the Monopoly brand? Why do 90% of households have our product in their house? What is it that makes this, that cozy memory in the back of your brain, really stand out to you? And so what we found out through significant consumer research, and a lot of what we do is start with an insight that's strong, and that's the foundation for everything you do from there, is that what people love about Monopoly is that you can be the best at being the worst. You have full permission to behave badly when you play Monopoly. And this is something that I think a lot of people feel, but a lot of people weren't necessarily talking about. So we just fully embraced that notion and said, great, you like that you can bankrupt your little sister? Go ahead, that's okay with us. We see you, and we are giving you full permission to be that person. If you want to shamelessly flaunt your winnings and money and throw it up, like, go ahead. Like, we love that, and everybody loves that, and we are finally acknowledging that. So the campaign that we built out, you can go forward a couple of slides here, is based on this premise that all is fair in Monopoly, and this became the foundation for the brand campaign that we launched at the end of last year. I think I'm running tight on time. We have a couple of videos that I can share if we have time, but if not, I can certainly catch up with people afterwards if you have any further questions on Monopoly. I see you're I don't know if you're
It
time.
sounds the Grammys. Are they playing the music yet? If not,
Music
we can wrap it up.
Questions or video? What would you prefer?
Let's go with questions, of course. We're going
Okay.
to open up to the audience because it's all about a conversation, and hopefully this was engaging and you learned a few things and you're also curious about a few things. Please, up on the stairs.
First, shout out
Wait,
to-
what's your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. Matt Snyder, Zeitgeist.
Matt Snyder, Zeitgeist.
That's it.
Let's go.
First, shout out to Northern Vermont as a Vermonter
Yes.
first.
Go Catamounts.
So Monopoly, who doesn't love it? Awesome game, been around forever. Monopoly Go is arguably one of the biggest mobile games of all time, like
Yep.
blockbuster success in Stokely.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about like how I think it's an interesting example of something digital and how it may impact the physical, right? How is
Yep.
it impacting board game sales and the brand?
So Monopoly Go, just for those of you who don't know, my friend here is right. It is one of the biggest board game or digital game launches of all time, certainly in the last 5 years. It is absolutely unprecedented and a lot of fun. And this is a great example of blueprint marketing at its absolute finest, where you have a base game or base brand in Monopoly. We partner with Scopely, and they developed an incredible game that is engaging fans with a brand in a completely new way. And I think the question that we are constantly challenging ourselves and working closely with Scopely to define is, blueprint marketing can work in both ways. You can have a brand that informs blueprint activations, but you can also have a blueprint activation that informs the brand. And that's really where we're focused with Scopely is, we have something that's fire, and how do we continue to take the equity from Monopoly Go and the incredible popularity of that brand and bake it into our core brand offerings.
Take one more.
Thanks for the question. Please, someone in the crowd. Any other? On the stairs.
Hi, Kristen Ahern, XRL currently, but I guess the question I have is: you think about the power of play and the power of you think about bringing generations together, right? And all of these games were meant to be played as groups versus individual. But what I'm seeing a lot of is Trivial Pursuit is now individualized. So whether you're bad or good at it, you know, when you think about Monopoly Go, do you feel like that's taken away from what you're trying to do as a brand and what those games really truly meant, and if that can impact your future business?
I love the question. So for those who couldn't hear, the question was, are activations like the Trivial Pursuit Infinite game or Monopoly Go that are more individually focused and you play as a solo player, are those taking away from what we're trying to do across the portfolio of games that we offer? And the answer is no. And really what our aim is to do is, we know that everybody's a gamer. I mean, if you ask people, everybody out there, 99% of you will say that you play games. And that can mean a lot of different things to people. For some, it's role playing. For some, it's solitaire. For some, it's a 10-person party game. All of these play experiences and gaming experiences are something that we support. And so our goal right now as a portfolio is to offer more ways for more people to have play experiences. So adding to our portfolio ways that you can play solo, because the reality is, you know, there are going to be moments where you're solo, you're laying in bed, you're traveling, you're on an airplane, whatever it might be, and you want to have a fun play experience. And now we have more ways for you to do that. And on the converse, we also have more play experiences coming to the table where you can play with groups of 10, 12, 14 people, so that we're really hitting all sides of the spectrum.
I think we are probably tapped at time. I'd love to hear more questions and hear more from Sarah. It's been awesome getting to know you last couple of weeks. And, awesome chat, audience. I hope you liked it. You can take something away from it about how Hasbro and your brand can connect with the evolving consumer. Again, I'm Zach with MediaLab, Sarah with Hasbro. Thank you, Brand Innovators, Boston Beer. We'll both be here today, so come say hi. Ask us any questions you get to ask. In person. Love to meet you.
Woo!